For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas rise?
I move to strike the requisite number of words.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Chairman, I rise in opposition to the amendment. The President has not been interested in this legislation. I do not see a good reason to give him the burden of reporting back to us in 45 days to explain how he's going to provide for security for Afghanistan on the long term. How long is long term? We've been in Korea now for 50 years, so are we planning to raise troops to provide national security for Afghanistan? I think we should be more concerned about the security of this country and not wondering how we're going to provide the troops for long-term security in Afghanistan. You know, over the last several days, and almost continuously, matter of fact, many members get up and talk about any expenditure or any tax cut as an attack on Social Security. But we don't hear this today because there's a coalition well built to support this intervention and presumed occupation of Afghanistan. But the truth is, there are monetary and budget consequences of this. After this bill is passed, if this bill is to pass, we'll be close to $2 billion in aid to Afghanistan, not counting the military. Now, that's an astounding amount of money, but it seems like it's irrelevant here. 12 months ago, the national debt was $365 billion less than it is today. And people say we're just getting away from having surpluses. Well, $365 billion is a huge deficit, and the national debt going up at that rate. April revenues were down 30% from 1 year ago. The only way you pay for programs like this is either you do rob Social Security or you print the money. Both are very harmful to poor people and people living on a limited income. Our funds are not unlimited. I know there's a lot of good intention. Nobody's in this body saying we're going over there to cause mischief. But let me tell you, there's a lot of reasons not to be all that optimistic about these wonderful results of what we're going to accomplish over there. You know, earlier, the gentleman from California, Mr. Rohrabacher, came up with an astounding reason for us to do this. He said that we owe this to Afghanistan. Now, I've heard all kinds of arguments for foreign aid and for foreign intervention, but the fact that we owe this to Afghanistan, you know what we owe? We owe a responsibility to the American taxpayer, and we owe a responsibility to the security of this country. One provision of this bill takes $300 million line of credit from our DOD and just gives the President the authority to take $300 million of weapons away from us and give it to somebody over there. Well, that dilutes our defense. That doesn't help our defense. This is not beneficial. We do not need to have an occupation of Afghanistan for security of this country. There's no evidence for that. The occupation of Afghanistan is unnecessary. It's going to be very costly, and it's very dangerous. But you say, well, it's all for democracy. For democracy? Well, did we care about democracy in Venezuela? It seemed like we tried to undermine that just recently. Do we care about the democracy in Pakistan? A military dictator takes over and he becomes our best ally. And we use his land, and he's been a friend of the Taliban, and who knows, bin Laden may even be in Pakistan. And here we are saying we're doing it all for democracy. Now, that's just pulling our leg a little bit too much. This is not the reason that we're over there. We're over there for a lot of other reasons, and hopefully things will be improved. But I am terribly concerned that this will spend a lot of money. We will become deeply mired in Afghanistan, and we won't do a lot better than the Soviets did. Now, that's a real possibility that you shouldn't ignore. You say, oh, no, everything sounds rosy, and we're going to do this. We're going to do it differently. And this time, it's going to be okay. But if you look at the history of that land and that country, I would think that you would have second thoughts. It's been said that one of the reasons why we need this legislation is to help pay for drug eradication. Well, that's a good idea. That would be nice if we could do that. But the drug production has exploded since we've been there. You know, in the last year, it's just going wild. So, oh, well, that's even more reason we have to spend money because we contributed to this explosion of the drug production. There's money in this bill, and maybe some good will come of this. There's money in this bill that's going to go over there and teach the Afghan citizens not to use drugs. May I ask unanimous consent for an additional 2 minutes?
Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman is recognized for an additional 2 minutes.
Now, if this is successful, if we teach the Afghan people not to use drugs, won't that be wonderful? Maybe then we can do something about the ravenous appetite of our people for drugs. That is a basic cause of so much drug production. So to spend money on these kind of programs, I think, is just a little bit of a stretch. Already there have been 33 tribal leaders that have said they will not even attend this loyal Herga, that they're not going to attend. The fact that we're going to spend millions of dollars trying to gather these people up and tell them what to do with their country, I think the odds of producing a secure country are slim. Already in the papers, just a few weeks ago, it was reported in the Washington Post that our CIA made an attempt to assassinate a former prime minister of Afghanistan. Now, he may have been a bum, for all I know. But do you think that sits well? He was not an ally of bin Laden. He was not a Taliban member. And yet our CIA's over there getting involved. Matter of fact, that's against our law if that report is true. And yet that is what the papers have reported. So I would say that we should move cautiously. I think this is very dangerous. I know nobody else has spoken out against this bill, but I do not see much benefit coming from this. I know it's well motivated, but it's going to cost a lot of money. We're going to get further engaged. More troops are going to go over there. And now that we're a close ally of Pakistan, we do know that Pakistan and India both have nuclear weapons, and we're sitting right there. So I would hardly think this is advantageous to our security, nor advantageous to the American people, or advantageous to the American taxpayer. I see this as a threat to our security. It doesn't reassure me one bit. This is what scares me. It scares me when we send troops into places like Vietnam and Korea and other places, because it ultimately comes back to haunt us.
The gentleman's time has expired.